You play great in practice, but then once the pressure's on, everything falls apart. Your mind is racing, your heart is beating, you choke. Oh man, this is the worst thing, and we're going to talk exactly about why this happens and what to do to stop it. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Michelle Thompson, aka Cornhole Mish. I am a cornhole commentator, sideline reporter, and I've been helping people get out of their heads and into their bodies for peak performance for over 15 years. Let's start off with why you choke in the first place. So, in practice, there is a different state that you are under. Most likely, you're under the play state or maybe even the mindless state because it's just practice and it doesn't have real pressure attached to it. So, you're just kind of doing your thing. But once the stakes get high, as us cornhole players, we do a down and back. And then you do a fist bump, and then everything changes because there's an actual state change. Now, the key to this is to know whether or not you're actually moving into the play state or the flow state, or unfortunately for many of us, the worry state. That fist bump, that down and back, you're probably just having fun, not really caring. And the worry state then is initiated with that trigger of a fist bump, knowing the game is now starting. So, that worry state is why we choke, because in the worry state, we cannot perform at our very best. It feels like your heart is beating fast, maybe you're sweating, your thoughts are crazy, you're overthinking, and it doesn't feel good. And it's why so many people who play cornhole start off in the play state when the expectations are low and they really enjoy it and have a lot of fun and see progress. But then, as soon as the stakes get a little bit higher, people have some expectations of you, or you have expectations of you. And suddenly we shifted out of the play state. And unfortunately, we instead of going to flow, where we perform great, we went right into worry when everything goes awry. So we need to know why we go into the worry state and what we can do to avoid that, and especially what to do when maybe we've gone into the flow state and then unfortunately get shifted back into the worry state. So the worry state could be a state that you actually start in. When let's start there, and then we'll talk about what happens when you get triggered and you shift out of player flow into worry. So for those of you who are starting in it, that's just because we didn't intentionally set up for the right state. So a pre-performance routine is going to be key in this example. This could be something you do at the start of a tournament. It could also be something you do at the start of a game or a match. I recommend both. So have something that sort of shifts your body into competition mode. Or if you're more of a play state person where you don't really necessarily care about winning or playing the better than everyone in the room, you just want to have fun and play your best, then it could look a little bit different and be a little bit more playful. Maybe you're talking to people in the room, you're loose, you're high-fiving, and then if you're flow state, you're probably keeping to yourself, you're practicing your deep breathing, you're visualizing your shots, and maybe you have some kind of affirmations or mantras happening before you step on the board. So something to kind of gear you up for play or flow state, depending on what you like. Then, once you walk up to the boards and you're doing your down and back, this is not just the time to test out the board speed and how the bags are reacting to the boards. It's also a time to practice another pre-performance ritual. So have something that you do in your down and backs. Yes, you're mechanically kind of feeling out where everything's going, but mentally, let's also be very intentional about shifting into the state that you want to play in. Once again, if you're a play state person, you might be kind of talking to your opponent, dancing to the music, and just kind of getting into the present moment of I'm about to play this fun game that I really love. If you're a flow state person, then it's going to be connecting to your body, your breath, your affirmations, your visualizations, and have something that you do the same every single time. I like a combination of breath, movement, sound, which we'll talk about when we talk about how to deal with our triggers. So come up with something that you do, maybe driving to the tournament or when you walk in, something that you do before the match starts, and then you're going to have something probably very short or simple that happens every time you throw. Those are your performance rituals. They're extremely important to initiate the state intentionally that you want to be in. Now, let's say you get triggered. What do we do with triggers? Because they're going to happen. Distractions are there. It's very difficult for us to stay focused for an entire tournament or match. So just know that triggers are going to happen. You're going to miss shots. Your opponent's going to say something. You're going to notice some kind of movement out of the corner of your eye. And that is going to shift you out of your state. You are not meant to stay locked into flow or play for the entirety of the tournament. It's going to be very difficult to do that. If you do, great. But for most of us, we're going to be ebbing and flowing through the various states. So the key is to notice when it shifts. Know what it feels like to be in the flow or play state and know how your play style is there. And then notice the subtle changes that happen when you shift out. So let's say it's missing a shot. If you miss a shot, what happens sensationally in the body? Do you have a tension in the chest? Do you have knots in the belly? Do you notice your heart rate change? Do you notice your breathing change? These are your subtle cues that something has shifted and that it's time to do something with it. We can't just say, oh, I'm not playing as well, or oh, I totally responded or reacted to that shot, and not have some kind of reset ready to then deal with that. And those resets need to be repped in practice. So we have to have our resets so that we can handle the inevitable triggers that happen during a game. So how do we practice this? How do we prepare ourselves for triggers so that we can avoid staying in the worry state? What we have to do is, like I said, we have to practice these reset routines when we're not in the middle of the tournament. That's too late. So at home, when you're doing your practice routines, really try to lock into the state intentionally that you want to throw in, whether that's play or flow. If I was trying to practice in play state, I'd have the music turned up. I would be kind of, loose and dancing, maybe singing and throwing my bags. If I was going for the flow state, I'd probably still have music, but it might be a different type of music. It would be more focused, and I would be really focused on my breathing, and I would be focused on my feet on the ground and the feeling of the bag in my hand and being so ultra present. And I would also try to pretend as if I had some kind of pressure or performance needing to happen at that time. Whether I have an actual audience, whether I have a phone that's recording this, or whether or not I just imagine myself on a court with people watching me with the highest stakes championship game on the line. You can conjure up that state just by imagining it. And I recommend doing that if you're trying to get really good at the flow state, because you won't be able to trigger the flow state if the stakes aren't high, right? It has to actually have something on the line for your body to really go there. So you can imagine it or you can create it. And then the inevitable distractions will happen, right? You're going to probably miss unless you throw perfect games every time it's sent up to the boards, which, hey, why don't you teach the class? But for most of us, things are going to happen. Notice what happens when you make that miss at home, because it's going to be even more amplified when you're in a real match with real pressure. And then have some kind of reset that you practice the same way every single time. Breath, movement, sound, okay? Whatever order that you want to do there. Shake it off, tap it out, jump up and down, do a circle, take a deep breath, shift it out of your body, and then have some kind of statement. I got this. I'm locked in. I can handle this. Whatever words make sense to you and are powerful enough to create a different feeling in the body, because you have to do some kind of state shift. Now, if you're a play state person, it's a little bit easier, because anything that makes you laugh or loosen up is going to work really well to shift you out of the worry state. It's the same as when people say, just have fun, right? Just have fun works really well for play state people. If you're a flow state person, it doesn't really work for you. It's you need to lock it and focus. Play state people somebody can make a silly face or do a funny dance, and that'll be enough to shift the body out of worry and into play. So those are things you can practice with yourself. But definitely take the time to drill these reset routines so that when it happens in a game, and it will happen in a game, you know not only exactly what to do, it's automatic, it's routine, it's rhythmic, and you trust it. You're like, it doesn't matter that this miss just happened because I know exactly what to do to get back into the state where I perform the best. So this is not a threat. It is nothing to worry about. It will not lead to a spiral, and I will get back in this game. That's how we deal with the choke, and I hope this is helpful. If it was, please hit subscribe, and more content is coming at you very soon. And also I have a amazing $9 mental reset kit that you can check out in the description below that will help you create those reset routines if you're not really sure where to start. So definitely take advantage of that. And I'm curious, what are your triggers? Let me know in the comments. What is the thing that totally sets you off into the worry state, into the spiral? And we'll see if I bet you're not the only one who feels that way.